Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our AEW Dynamite review. And I gotta say, returning to reviews, I think I've liked this episode more than the past few weeks of television that AEW has produced, whether we're talking Dynamite or Rampage. I thought this was solid. I thought Jericho Danielson, which was one of the big championship matches, was fun. I also thought Pac Orange Cassidy was fun. And in fact, so much fun that it kind of illuminated a problem that I have with AEW, oddly enough. It had its weak points, sure. Anna Jay, to me, cannot talk for shit. Jungle Boy as a babyface, he had a fun match with Luchasaurus from what I saw, but still, I don't know if this guy should be deserving in my mind of pillar status, given that I don't think he can talk. And really, that's his only big weakness. I think the in-ring is good. I think he can be a good, struggling, kind of scrappy babyface, underdog babyface. I mean, Strickland Gunn was whatever. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff on the show. I would say mostly good. I'm mostly positive on this show. But I'm curious what my cohort and commentary has to say. Brother, how does it feel to be back doing reviews? How'd you feel about this AEW Dynamite tonight?
Yeah, there's something comfy about reviews where we can just kind of lay back and say what we're feeling, This was a decent episode of Dynamite. I think I might even be lower on it than you because, I don't know. I got bored about 2/3 of the way into this show. Like, I was looking at the clock. I was kind of trying to figure out how much longer we were going to have to go and what matches were left and that kind of stuff. And, yeah, I don't know. I was not super duper into it. As usual, everything involving MJF annoyed me. But nothing more than when the crowd started turning their attention to him during the incredible Moxley Hangman Page promo segment. That pissed me off to no end. But, other than that, this was, I would say a relatively harmless episode of Dynamite. I don't think that anything on the show actively pissed me off other than the crowd. But, there also wasn't really anything on the show that really popped me other than Hangman's promo. So, that one segment was both my favorite and least favorite parts of the night because Hangman's promo was amazing, but the crowd didn't give it the respect it deserved at all.
If I could just respond to what you said before we dovetail into our first segment. I didn't mind MJF's promo preceding all of that. In fact, I actually found the tension between him and Stokely Hathaway interesting and unexpected. So really, AEW's got me in a position where I don't know what they're going to do with the MJF character. Although, let me get out in front of this and say that I'm already, I've got one foot out the door in the sense that I'm expecting it to be very similar to the Punk MJF situation, where it seems like MJF is going to have this turn of heart or, kind of turn things around, and he's just going to double down and be a prick, which I don't mind him being a prick, as we all know, but I think a tease like that is really, unless you're really going to commit. Compare that to the Garcia situation. I'm actually interested in his rationale given what happened tonight, but we'll get more into that later. As far as the crowd, I 1,000% agree with you. There I am in full solidarity with you. Hangman and Moxley ate tonight on the mic, and if the in-ring is as good as the mic work tonight, we're gonna eat great next Tuesday because these guys fucking killed it. And I especially want to emphasize, like you, Hangman, because Moxley, the thing is, when you're as good as Moxley is and you're as consistent as he is, the bar is kind of at an unattainable place, which isn't his fault because I'm still always going to enjoy his work, but it's like nothing phases me anymore. It's like you scoring ridiculous goals in Rocket League. I feel like, you're amazing at the game, so it doesn't really faze me anymore unless you do a really ridiculous, he touched the fucking ceiling scoring this goal or whatever, because you're just that good. It's the same way with Moxley. He's just so good that even an average Moxley promo, and I'll puff my chest out and say this, I think an average Moxley promo beats I'll say maybe 80% of pro wrestlers just across the board, especially in American, pro wrestling, and the promos they cut. I just think he's a magnificent mic worker. Hangman, though, this was a defining promo for him. I've never thought he was bad on the mic, But it's funny, when you and I were kind of in a weird place with AEW, like not watching it, but still, kind of just paying attention to, friends that we had who were fans of it, that were like, oh, he's such a relatable babyface. And I would catch some of his stuff talking about, anxiety, depression, and this and that. And he really is kind of, I would even say more than Moxley in a way, the everyman babyface, because he's so open about his mental state and his doubts and his insecurity. And that's so fucking rare. But I love it, though, because we always just complain about that with Cena. Like, no loss would ever phase him. You saw everything that was burdening Hangman tonight, and he put it together in a masterful promo. And the idea that the crowd shit on it by cheering for the third guy, who's supposed to be a heel anyway, very disrespectful. So I do 1,000% agree with your sentiments on that. With that said, I guess let's get to our first segment. We're back in the saddle again, baby. Heat of the night. And it's difficult with a show like this, bro, maybe because it's the first one back and I'll admit to a little bit of rust. I don't really have any heats of the night, though. Really, the only thing that pissed me off, besides what you noted, which, kind of weird to make a heat of the night about because they won't be in Toronto again, hopefully for a while, was just Anna Jay talking. Anna Jay just never let her talk ever. Although maybe I'm alone in this. I do want to say, while that segment's on my mind, and before I forget, I actually like that Nyla Rose tried to show more personality, and she actually got me to crack a smile. I didn't think she was bad. I actually like the charisma she tried to bring into it, being a bit more sassy and stuff like that.
Yeah, Nyla Rose is really good on the mic. I really enjoy her promo work.
Yeah, that was revelatory for me tonight, because I've never, because of course she runs with Vicky, so I'm like, well, why would she talk? But her talking, it's like, I'm not saying they're exactly the same, guys, before this comes out of my mouth, but it kind of gives me Brock vibes in the sense that you wouldn't expect him to be entertaining, but he kind of finds a way. Like, he's found how to make his personality translate to the crowd. I hope Nyla finds a way to make her personality translate to the crowd, because I liked what I heard here. But yeah, Anna Jay just should never talk. But do you have any heats of the night that you want to air out here?
Heat of the night, I think the only thing even close is the crowd. The way that they basically tried to bury the Hangman promo. I don't think I have any other big time real heats of the night. I will say the JAS shenanigans are obviously annoying as hell, and the fact that Chris Jericho literally cannot have a big time singles match without some kind of interference or a ref bump or any kind of fuckery annoys the hell out of me. And I'm going to complain about that every single time it happens. But because it happens so often, I almost feel like it's insincere to give it a heat of the night, because it's just expected at this point. It's like, okay, yeah, now you know that anytime it happens, I'm going to be annoyed by it, but I shouldn't have to talk about it because you should just know it,
Absolutely, man. I get where you're coming from.
I think nitpick, I do have one.
Okay.
Actually, no. I have two nitpicks. So, first nitpick is actually about Jungle Boy and not even about a promo. Maybe this is a bias on my part in the sense that I already like Jungle Boy, so I'm going to be looking for stuff that he does wrong and find it easier. But in my opinion, Jungle Boy needs to do a better job of selling the threat of Luchasaurus.
Interesting. You don't think he did that well tonight?
I don't think he does that at all. I don't think he sells Luchasaurus as a threat whatsoever. I think that he basically is even there was a moment, really the reason that I even put this in my notes tonight, there was a moment tonight where he did the Christian get the guy up against the ropes and then jump over the top rope, land on the outside, smack him in the face thing.
Yeah. He
did that, and then he fucking turned his back to Luchasaurus. In my mind, if I'm in the ring with a 6'7" monster like Luchasaurus, you're not going to catch me dead turning my back to that scary motherfucker.
Yeah, I can understand that for sure.
So in my mind, that was just Jungle Boy being young, being new-ish to the wrestling business, not really quite quote-unquote getting it yet. The idea that Luchasaurus is supposed to be this huge threat to him, and he treats him like any other opponent. He wrestles Luchasaurus the same way that he would wrestle, say, MJF, for example. Some other just random dude that's similar to him in size. I don't think that, as a smaller guy, I don't think that you should be working that way. I think that if you're a smaller guy and you go up against someone that's like 6'7", or however the hell tall Luchasaurus is, you need to sell that. You need to, and especially because like he's this underdog baby face. Show some fear, man. You're gonna get people behind you that way.
If I could also add to your nitpick, you'd think there'd be fear too because they were such close friends. Yeah. And if a guy that I once called my best friend and who I saw probably like a brother has hurt me the way that Luchasaurus has hurt him prior to this match,
yeah,
there'd be that extra fear there because you realize like conscience is not going to step in, right? It's not going to be like movies or TV shows where maybe he's got me throttled by the throat and then we do a montage of memories and they come to their senses. No, he'll kill me. He'll take the killing shot. Yeah, would that'd be like something maybe Lucha Underground could have pulled off. I don't know, but yeah, like he's gonna make the kill shot. He's gonna go for the kill, and so I agree with you. There needs to be that urgency because it's not just some guy. Even if it was just some guy, look at him. But then also just to compound what you said, this is a man that I knew. This is a man that I had a very successful tag team title run with. I was the boy and he was my pet dinosaur, and now he's turned on me. So yeah, there should absolutely be that fear there, if for no other reason because he put the knife in my back willingly. And so what else can he do to me? Yeah.
So yeah, that was really that, and then my second nitpick is much less deep, I guess you could say. There was a backstage segment tonight where Schiavone interviewed Chris Jericho in 2.0, and this promo just achieved nothing. It was literally pointless. I was typing it out in my notes, and by the time the promo ended, I had learned nothing. All this promo served was for Jericho to try and talk about how great he is, and that's it. And that was the entire purpose. It was just nothing. It was a nothing promo. You could have literally cut it and given that time to someone else, or given that time to make a match longer. Either way, it would have been better.
Yeah, no arguments here. So let us get into our Dynamite review. And we open up. Renee has signed with AEW. Yes.
We could call her Renee Moxley, but maybe that would be too awkward.
That'd be a bit much. Renee Paquette, AEW, wonderful to have her, and alluded to, just great for her and her life. Now her and Moxley, can be together probably more often because we know the life of a wrestler is not easy. So very happy for the two of them. She comes out. Toronto gives her a nice reception here, and she calls Christian out because we're going to do again a Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. That was the opener for an interview. And he says, it feels great to be back in Toronto as the face of not only the city of Toronto, but the country of Canada. He guaranteed a victory tonight from Luchasaurus, locked in 100%. And then I think he dissed the local sports team, if I remember correctly. And then
he talked shit about Toronto. I think the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, he made The Rock proud. Let's not forget when The Rock dissed Toronto. Then we get Jungle Boy.
One of the most memorable Rock promos ever, honestly.
Yes, absolutely. Then we do get Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. We've already kind of talked about this enough in like our opening remarks, so I will just say Luchasaurus does get the win. Very cool. Love that Luchasaurus is being pinned. I also do want to praise Christian on commentary here. He did great.
Dude, I even have it in my notes that Christian was great on commentary.
Yeah, like he said that Luchasaurus would be a better pillar than Jungle Boy. In fact, Jungle Boy isn't a pillar at all. And he even went as far as to say that Luchasaurus is a future world champion. And yes, here's the thing. I get why Christian does it as a character because he's like the manager, quote unquote. He's riding the gravy train of Luchasaurus. Even so, though, I'm so glad he did this. And I wish established commentary would do it too. Because look at this dude. Like, you should be talking about, especially as he continues to win decisively and be dominant, you should talk about how this guy has all the tools, how you don't know if there's anybody in AEW that can stand up to this dude. Why? Because if you carve out that perception through the announce table, kind of mediating what we're seeing in the ring, the relationship between us and the in-ring product, when a Wardlow comes out, when a Joe comes out, that pop, and it's still going to be magical anyway, but just for the viewer at home, it's going to be like, oh shit, maybe that person can do it. Because I've been saying, I'd love to see Luchasaurus lock it up with Wardlow. Get him versus Wardlow for that TNT Championship. I am so fucking there. So, love that Christian put over Luchasaurus like this. Love the finish with the choke slam off the top. after Christian, I think, kind of ran interference a little bit. And then Luchasaurus kind of gets, like I said, kind of like a weird burning hammer. We're talking about that in the Discord because we did actually watch most of this Dynamite on Discord with our donors. So if you guys ever are interested in that, it's $3 a month. And yeah, Luchasaurus gets the win. After that, we get Stokely Hathaway and All Ego Ethan Page of the Firm. They're interviewed backstage. And I had said to you that I was tabbed out for some of this. And it's funny because when Ethan Page talks, not looking at him, I get such Robert Roode vibes.
Yep.
And the thing is, I was a huge fan of Robert Roode back in the day, whether he was a babyface in Beer Money or a heel in Beer Money, because they started out as a heel tag team, and his heel TNA World Title run. I fucking love that shit. I was always a bigger fan of Roode than Storm in Beer Money, so to see him get his long run was great. NXT was and everything since has been I really feel like Impact was where Roode achieved his prime, and his prime was absolutely magnificent to see. So nothing but respect for him there. I don't know, though, if Ethan Page is better than Robert Roode. And that was kind of the next question I asked myself. It's like, could he be a Robert Roode of AEW? Jury's still out, I'd say. I don't want to write the man off, but yeah, I think Robert Roode's kind of his ceiling. Maybe you get that one world title run that's kind of okay, but it's whatever.
No fucking shot.
No, you just laughed that out of the building. Damn.
Bro, I'm sorry, but he's just so fucking generic. Until this dude finds a personality, he should not win any title unless it's maybe like a tag title with Scorpio at most.
I mean, bro, to be fair, with the criticisms we've levied at AEW, if he has a generic personality, I think he's right where he needs to be.
Yeah.
Like, just being fair. Just being fair.
I'm just saying, though, like, this dude, I mean, that's the main reason why I kind of agreed with you that he kind of reminds me of Robert Roode, because they're both generic white Canadian heels. Like, what more is there? Like, they're just a couple of, I don't know, man. They're just generic. That's just the biggest thing I can come up with to think of. Like, even Roode, like, in his prime, what was his gimmick? I drink beer or I like money. Like, okay, it's fucking generic heel shit. Give me something new.
Man, I will have to take up for Roode a little bit, because unlike Page, I do think Roode was better on the mic. I enjoyed his Impact promos personally. Ethan Page, though, it's like, Because, see, like, I feel like my problem with most heels like an Ethan Page, or like people that maybe even pattern themselves after Roode or something today, it's just, that to me is generic. Because I think they let the crowd kind of take them by the balls a little too much. Whereas, like, even if you do think that, like, a heel like Roode is generic, I never remember them, like, feeding into the crowd too much unless it was to throw the insult their way, one or another. But they would do their fucking promo, and they would get to their fucking shit.
Right.
I think I would even say mic workers in general, whether face or heel, or sometimes are a little too concerned with crowd interaction personally. But that's another discussion for another time.
And I think my main thing with Page is, like, there's no gimmick, and his idea of a good promo is just yelling louder.
Yeah.
So, like, there's just nothing there to me. He's got a mediocre look. He's mediocre on the mic. He's nothing special in the ring. He's just blah.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally understand that. And things are feeling pretty blah for Matt Hardy right now, because Stokely announces that he purchased Private Party's contracts.
Yep. So
now they belong to the Firm. And Matt Hardy doesn't like it. He's like, I want them to be free from you. And, I want them to be, their own guys and everything. And then, Ethan Page says, look, he challenges Isaiah Cassidy to a match on Rampage. If Isaiah Cassidy wins, they're out of their contracts. But if Ethan Page wins, the Firm also gets Matt Hardy's contract. Hardy accepts and gives Cassidy a pep talk, and, we go to commercial.
You gotta love the hypocrisy here, too, because the whole thing was, oh, Matt, why don't you let them, fight for themselves? Why are you trying to fight their battles for them? And then he's having Isaiah Cassidy, who's a tag team guy, wrestle as a singles guy for also Matt Hardy's contract now. So, like, we went from Matt Hardy wrestling for the Private Party dudes' contracts to one of the Private Party dudes wrestling for Matt Hardy's contract. I don't really know why they would ever agree to that.
Yeah, I gotta be honest too, man. And I said this on our Discord, and I don't know how they're gonna play this here. I am starting to worry a bit about the Firm, because, like, I love the idea of the Firm. Not just with MJF having them on retainer. I would love the idea of, like, them exchanging favors kind of political or financial favors in exchange for them taking care of business. Maybe I'll help you guys. Maybe I'll be like, I don't know, a young boy type thing for a couple months. You just got to help me win this one match. Or maybe I'll give you, again, $250,000, put a number out there. You run interference in this match so I can win the world title. Like, I like the idea that Stokely is a businessman. I fucking love Stokely.
Yes.
If we're going back to Dynamite reviews, one thing you will hear me say consistently, guys, is how much I fucking love this man. I think his facial expressions are great. I think his body language is magnificent. I think he's an entertaining talker. I always am actively paying attention when he talks. He's amazing. And again, we're being very honest in these reviews, and I like that because I know we're in a weird place with AEW. I don't want them to dilute the product. I already don't like that Ethan Page is a part of this. I don't even like that Gunn Club's a part of it. I feel like it should be mid-card guys that are promising, and that's all going to come back to the main event. And because I have something I want to get off my chest when we get to the main event segment, because that's where it's most relevant. So I don't want them to dilute the product, and I'm like, what would you even do with Matt Hardy unless you bossed him around? Maybe that could be entertaining, but even then I'm like, I just want Matt Hardy to go away. Like, I don't want him on my TV at all. And as far as Hardy, I like these guys. I do. But, I don't know if the bloom is off the rose here because I don't know if AEW is just looking at other tag teams. So I'm really just not enthused about any of this. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I'm sorry. What am I? You're asking me what?
Well, just
about what?
Yeah, well, just your thoughts about the firm and then the private party contracts and what they're doing with Matt Hardy.
Yeah, I mean, if the firm, I was gonna say actually, I'm glad that you let me kind of answer this now that I think about it, because I was gonna say they could do some interesting stuff with the firm getting private parties contracts and the private party having to work for the firm sort of against their will. Like, you could do some Shawn Michaels shit with that, but obviously you don't want to go that far. But yeah, they could definitely do some interesting stuff with it. I don't really know if they're going to, though. To me, this isn't like an obvious one side or the other kind of thing, because it seems more likely to me that Page is going to win and they're going to get private parties contracts, but I also feel like they could just do the whole if private party don't have a choice, they're just going to have fun with it and they just go heel then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you could definitely get private party over as fuck if you do an unwilling, lackey kind of thing where they have to, do what Stokely tells them to do or they get fired kind of thing.
Yeah. We'll see where they go with it. I hope they're not doing too much with this, is I guess kind of my worry. But, yeah, after that, we come back and we see that QT Marshall and members of the factory, Nick Camarado is with Marshall here, making fun of the Warjo tag team name. Warjo then comes out. We have our tag team match. Really nothing much to say here. Warjo fucking wreck 'em. And I do love the look of Warjo, just the aesthetic of these two bigger guys imposing their will and running roughshod on people. And they made a very entertaining duo. I love the finish, too, with Joe. I think he was holding down Nick, and Wardlow gets his senton, which looks beautiful. And then Joe locks in the Coquina clutch. So, great finish there. A lot of fun. Wardlow
I will
is
agree,
doing...
by the way. I love Warjo. They're really fun.
Yeah, I definitely want to see them go after the tag titles.
I was going to say, if they weren't so likable, if they weren't baby faces, I would definitely want them to go after the Acclaimed.
Yeah, for sure. It's times like this that I do wish that Swerve and Our Glory were still tag team champions, because that fucking match, them versus Warjo, would fucking slap so hard. So, yeah, that would be great. After the match, they have a little bit of fun with QT. He's getting a symphony of power bombs when the embassy interrupts, and Cage cuts a little promo, more or less saying, nobody wants to see that, just like nobody wanted to see you guys sticking your nose in embassy business when they were attacking FTR. They ask, are FTR even here? And then their music hits to, admittedly, a loud pop. FTR is very over with AEW crowds. Still love their in-ring stuff, kind of over their whole promo shtick personally, but it's still resonating with crowds. FTR then kind of talk a little smack, saying, we found a third guy. He's he is from Canada. He's a perfect 10. And yeah, Sean Spears comes out, reverting back to his perfect 10 gimmick, kind of working as a baby here for Canada, and I guess for the immediate future. How did you feel about this segment?
Actually, I'm glad you asked because I feel like this segment sheds a light onto sort of a greater problem in AEW, sort of a systemic problem, a Tony Khan problem specifically, and that is that they are far too preoccupied with whatever the fuck town they're doing things in, and they need to stop worrying so fucking much about where they are and just focus on telling good stories, because it doesn't matter where you are. If you're telling good stories, it's going to get the kind of reaction that you want. If you focus so much on where you are, you're going to get great responses from the people in-house, but it's going to cause inconsistencies with your stories, and it's going to make people in other towns not sure how to react, and it's going to make the people at home even more confused. And, like, it's kind of comes back to the MJF and Long Island thing. Like, if you fucking go out of your way to have the biggest heel in your company act like a babyface in one little town because it's where they're from, I guess, it's just inconsistent messaging. I can't stand this shit, dude. This is one of my biggest pet peeves about AEW, is how weirdly hometown focused and centric they are.
It's like they took the idea of the Mick Foley pop and exhausted it to be a writing concept.
Yes, exactly. They extrapolated the shit out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we get this stare down. We know that there's going to be a big tag schmoz, I'm guessing next week. And, after that, we get the Chris Jericho and 2.0 interview. Really not much to say here, like you said. You learn nothing. I learned nothing either. Jericho pretty much said that he's going to out-wrestle Danielson. He's going to embarrass Danielson because, he made him beat up Garcia last week, and Garcia is a little brother to Jericho and all that stuff. And so, it just says he's going to retain the Ocho, the ROH World Championship, and, Ring of Jericho and all that shit. Then we get daddy-ass Billy Gunn versus Swerve Strickland. I know Strickland is your fucking boy. You fucking love Swerve. So I'll have you do the honors talking about this match first. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I love Swerve, but this is a waste of his talents. Yes. I also hate that Billy Gunn kicked out of the Swerve stomp. Like, what the fuck? Why are you going to bury the dude's finisher like that?
Yeah, that's one thing I hate about a lot of wrestling, I'm noticing, is like moves that I've had this problem ever since like ROH was the big game in town on the indies. Moves that should win matches being kicked out of, it breaks the grip that the product has on me. Like, I return to reality in its fullness, and I'm like, oh, God, that sucks. I will say, though, I've never really cared much for Swerve as a heel, especially relative to you, because I know you're all about it. I will say, in this match, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed him targeting Billy Gunn's knee. I enjoyed the smile. At one point, he smiled into the camera, and it had a true menacing quality to it. Like, he knew he was the shit, and he was reveling in it. It's good. I will always love Swerve as a babyface, because to me, when I saw him as a babyface in NXT, that's the kind of dude that literally they make superhero movies out of. This guy that can do things that nobody can, and he makes his own fucking music. Dude's fucking cool. He's genuinely fucking cool without being a tryhard. And he's still cool as a heel, but I love that he could just be a smug prick and he's not trying to be a cool heel. There's a difference. You can be cool as a heel, but not pander to that coolness. And I don't think Swerve does that. I think Swerve just thinks, like, yeah, my shit doesn't stink. I'm better than all of you. And fuck me if I'm going to tell him he's wrong. He does have to use the ropes here to beat Billy Gunn. I know Javaris didn't really like that. For me, dude, honestly, maybe it's because I've just been watching wrestling so fucking long. That shit doesn't faze me anymore. We can sit here and talk about how Swerve could have gotten a more legitimate win, and he absolutely could have and probably should have. But he's a heel. It's heel 101. They're going to do that shit. It's to be expected. Overall, I'm just happy he fucking won, honestly. Yeah. Because, again, as we've said, the AEW is the island of generic white dudes, and to have one of them actually do the job to one of the talented guys on the roster that they do have, it's just a sigh of fucking relief to me personally.
Yeah, I'm also kind of at the point that if Swerve and Keith aren't going to go right back after, the Acclaimed and the tag titles, can we stop having them interact every week?
Yeah. I think that's fair, too. People need a breather. Again, look at how Stardom does interactions, even with Tam and Julia, because they've had such a prolific rivalry. It feels like they interact every Stardom show, but they don't. I think you had even told me when we were covering the finals and their final matchup, their last interaction was a year ago.
Yep.
And that's
that was their last
insane.
singles match.
That was their last singles match. Maybe not, but even so, I feel like their interactions are pretty healthily spaced apart.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think AEW could definitely take a note there because the product resonates more when you have time to breathe and acclimate yourself to it.
Yep.
That said, speaking of generic fucking dudes, we get fucking Tony Nese. To be honest, I checked out on this. I don't even know what fucking happened.
I can take it from here then, because we get Smart Mark Sterling come out with Tony Nese, and Sterling has Tony Nese announce the name of the country that approved their copyright claim, which is they filed a claim on the term "scissor me" as it pertains to pro wrestling, and they actually acquired that copyright. And Tony Nese says that it was approved by the greatest nation in the world, the United States of America, to try and get that cheap heat from Canada. And then Sterling basically says that the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn can no longer use the term, but if they do, he can sue them, hold them up for months in court, and force them to drop the tag titles. So it's basically... Oh, and by the way, they also get all of the money from the merch sales for the Scissor Me Daddy shirts. So basically, it's gotten to the point that you can either keep doing the Scissor Me shtick, or you can keep being the tag team champions. You can't do both.
This might surprise some people, but I actually love the concept.
Yeah.
I just don't like who's executing it.
Nese.
Because... Well, yeah, Nese is fine. And even Smart Marks are I still like him, but the bloom's starting to fall off that rose for me personally. But I love the concept, though, because that's we're in late capitalism. This is so on brand for late capitalism. In fact, it was only a few years ago that the Fine Bros were in hot water because they tried to trademark the word react. So, this isn't even completely untethered to reality. People have tried to do this shit.
Yeah.
So I actually really
I'm glad you brought that up, because that almost makes me feel like this entire storyline is, 7 or 8 years late? Because that's when that whole thing with the Fine Bros happened, wasn't it?
It feels like it, but I will say, bro, you're right. But again, because we're still and will be in the far foreseeable future,
it was
unfortunately,
6 years
in
ago.
Late capitalism. 6 years ago?
2016,
Yeah, since we're still in late capitalism and will be for the foreseeable future, I still think it never goes stale, a story like this, because this is exactly how this kind of economic system would operate. Absolutely. So I actually like that they're doing this, even if they don't realize what they have here, which I'm not entirely sure that they do. I just wish you had better guys executing it, because, man, you could get a lot out of this. But yeah, I actually like the creativeness there. Just don't like the faces, kind of put on this. And then, yeah, we get our MJF promo, and he goes to explain everything, and Stokely interrupts him, and he's kind of, talking about how they beat up Wheeler Yuta and stuff, and then Max, kind of joking around with him a little bit before he shuts him down, says, who doesn't like it? Daddy, and now Daddy's got to put you in timeout. This is strike 2. Interrupting me is strike 2. The first strike, though, was beating up Yuta when I didn't tell you to. You get a third strike, you're fired. Now, get out of my, interview segment. So, again, very interesting that Max would do this. You would think that he would hold his tongue until, he wins the fucking world title, which is why I felt like he had the firm on retainer in the first. Now, that's not necessarily a criticism. Just surprised it'll be a criticism if I feel like they fumbled the ball. That remains to be seen. But, yeah, just very interesting that they're doing this now, because I feel like he just got the firm on retainer. And then we're talking about how Stokely is one of the few guys he respects, because he's one of the few guys as intelligent as he is, and this and that. And I feel like, again, you could have had fun with that, but I don't know if this is AEW rushing something, if I just didn't understand the story at all, because it can be on me. I can't act like I'm perfect and I understand everything happening infallibly. But, yeah, I'm just a bit taken aback by this. Then MJF says that, William Regal, he calls himself the villain, but he's about as villainous as Mary Poppins. And, he says, sure, Regal might have a dark past, but he doesn't know what it's like to be MJF, and neither does Yuta, for that matter. He says, as far as Yuta goes, he doesn't have a goddamn clue what it's like to be me. And MJF acts like he has no choice but to be the bad guy, which, again, could be interesting, because, I don't know, Ashton, I know you know this. I don't know how many of our viewers know this. I always debate between this and Avatar: The Last Airbender, but BoJack is one of my favorite animated shows of all time. Fucking love BoJack Horseman. And, like, obviously he's a self-destructive, narcissistic piece of shit. But he has a conversation with somebody that, you know, her name's Diane, and she's, like, one of his quote-unquote best friends on the show, always tries to support him. She's got her own shit, you know, whatever. And they're arguing, and he's hurt a lot of people at this point, because I think this was, like, season 5. No, season 4, I think. It's season 4. No, it's 5. It's 5. It's season 5. And so he's hurt a lot of people at this point. And he says, like, you know, I'm the one that suffered the most. And that's kind of what I got from this MJF. Like, yeah, I'm a piece of shit. Yeah, I'm a bad guy. But you know who suffers the most with me being a bad guy? Me. And, like, where I'm concerned is I feel like AEW is trying to play with this story with Max. Like, is a conscience springing up? Is he thinking about his actions? But to me, right, and maybe it's because of not only the media that I watch, but my own life experience. You and I know a lot about our personal lives, so you can understand the vantage point that I'm coming from with this. I look at it as the shittiest thing. So all those people that you're shitty to and that you hurt, it doesn't pale in comparison to waking up as you. You suffer the most. Like, that to me is just peak narcissism, but I don't think they're playing it that way. And I will say, and you know that I've taken up for MJF a lot. I've cooled down recently because of the whole fucking ringside news transphobic bullshit. But, you know, I don't like that. I don't like that if they're trying again to play it as, is he having a crisis of conscience? Because if he was, he would understand that waking up as the bad guy isn't some immutable characteristic. It is a choice. You wake up and you smile in the mirror because you like, on some level, being a piece of shit. And even if you don't like it, you still haven't mustered up the agency and the conviction to go and do something about it. Now, for some people, admittedly, there may be barriers to entry to do that, and I understand that. But this dude doesn't represent experiencing barriers to entry. He is a fucking white dude whose character is affluent, who has all of this access that people could only dream of having, and yet, oh, woe is you because you have to wake up as the bad guy. Like, oh, God. That's the one thing I hated about Squid Game. Because you watched Squid Game, right, Ash? I'm not spoiling it for you.
We didn't watch it together?
No, we didn't watch it together. I feel like you watched it with your mom when I first.
Oh, well, yeah, I definitely did watch it. For some reason, I thought we watched it together. That's weird.
But yeah, like, I don't. Okay, if anybody hasn't seen Squid Game by now, even though it's long, I still want to respect spoiler culture, so I'll give it to 3. 1, 2, 3. So at the end, when the rich guy's like, oh, you know, it's so hard being rich because, you know, you want nothing. You're bored all the time. And, dude, that pissed me off so fucking much. Like, I had a friend even, like, be sympathetic. And I'm like, no, get all the way the fuck out of here.
Christ.
Get all the way. And, I'll give you 3 guesses who it was. We'll talk about that after. But, yeah, like, they were sympathetic. Like, you know, I can understand where they're coming from. You know, imagine having all that power and just being bored. And I'm like, dude, they're practically the secular mythology of our time. Bezos is a fucking god. Musk is a fucking god with the wealth that he has and what he could do with it. And instead he's, like, farting around, buying and not buying Twitter and all this other shit. And, like, yeah, it's like, no, I don't feel sympathetic for you fucking guys. I don't feel fucking sympathetic for you guys because you're fucking assholes. So I'm sorry to belabor this point. It's just, I think it's important to engage media this way when they're trying to make something sympathetic when it's really not. MJF is an asshole. He's always going to be an asshole until he does something that really shows me a reorientation of his conscience, of his values. And this ain't it. So I didn't hate the promo by any means. And I mean, hell, it provoked me going on this whole diatribe, so it must have been worth something. But yeah, he says, you know, I got to be what I am to be the world champion because nice guys finish last. So again, maybe you could even tell a story where it's like he has this very jaded view of the business.
It's
but
giving
still, like,
incel for sure.
Yeah. I just, there was a lot where I'm like, oh, so again, I'm supposed to feel bad for you, but I don't. So yeah, that's kind of where I was at. I'm guessing you have nothing more to add beyond just like, because I know you don't like MJF's promos because of the like raising the voice and like all that stuff.
Well, I mean, we're pretty much on the same page here. I think that we have the same complaint. I just let it ruin the promo for me, and you're still finding the good in it, you know?
Yeah. And no, hey, man, nothing wrong with that, though. Because, again, when you really look at it, and that's another reason why I'm glad we're doing reviews, because when you're reacting, you don't really have the time to digest it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you could say in the moment, like, oh, that was bad, or oh, that was good, but I like interrogating shit.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm glad that you let me kind of go off, I do apologize. But yeah, like it really kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
Apologizations.
Face. So I'm going to let you take the floor on this one, though, because I know you love this, and I love this too, but I just talked a shit ton for this segment.
Yeah.
So this was
Shivani
the
in the
Moxley
ring
promo.
with Moxley.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was really well done. Moxley has a big title match against Hangman next Tuesday. Got to talk about basically what it means to be champion. He did throw a little pot shot in there with Punk, talking about how, people falter and stuff like that. And crumble or whatever the hell, basically just saying that like Punk doesn't have what it takes to be everything that a champion needs to be. He didn't drop Punk's name by any means, but if you know kind of thing. So yeah, it was a fun promo from Moxley, really well done. Like John said earlier, basically par for the course for Moxley, which translates to exceptional in the grand scheme of things. That said, when he does say the name Hangman Page, Page's music immediately hits. He comes out, and he clearly respects Moxley a lot. He talks about, how much it meant coming from Moxley to hear that he was, that Moxley praised him last week, talked about how he was a good, whatever, he respected him and all that stuff. But then he said that he was a good kid, and Hangman took issue with that because he's like, do you see me as a kid? Is that all I am to you? And Moxley straight up told him to his face, yeah, that's exactly how I see you. And so Hangman cut one hell of a promo here, revolving around the concept basically that he is a man, not a boy. And, he struggles with all of these very real life problems, anxiety, depression. He's talking about the meds aren't working and stuff like that, but he keeps coming back. He keeps getting back up and moving forward. And he talks about how he has a wife, he has kids, all the same stuff that Moxley has, and that for Moxley to see him as less of a man is, bullshit basically. And it was just a great promo. He even punched himself in the forehead a few times, and I'm pretty sure he had a ring on, so he busted himself open. Very Ric Flair-esque in that way. But yeah, I loved Hangman's promo here. This is like a borderline promo of the year candidate for me. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it on my list or not.
I mean, I think you said everything so succinctly that was great about this. I loved Hangman's energy. I love, too, I think the word that was really conveyed to me on Hangman's side of the ball, because, again, there's nothing more I could say about Moxley that I haven't already said, even in live reactions. But what Hangman really conveyed to me was desperation. Like, he knows, like, I'm not saying this is his last shot at the world title, but I feel like he's acting like it's his last shot at the world title, and I love that. It's do or die for him, and he conveyed that so well. And I got to say, too, I love that he shoulder bumped him at the end. Like, when he gets done saying his piece, he walks out and he deliberately collides with Moxley's shoulder. I love the energy. I love the intensity. And I love, too, that Moxley, he seems to be doing here what he did in his WWE title run, particularly in the feud with Ziggler. Like, he's kind of nonchalant about him. He's kind of dissing him because he wants to bring that out of Hangman. So Moxley can say what he wants, but I feel like he, as a character, is happy with the Hangman he saw tonight, because his whole thing when he was WWE champion is, I want to bring out the best in these guys. Dolph Ziggler is a phenomenal talent, but when have we really seen him be the show-off? When's the last time you really saw it? And he wanted to bring that out there. Moxley wants the cowboy shit.
Yeah.
And fucking Hangman brought it tonight, and I agree with you, man. This is promo of the year material. In fact, you saying that got me to thinking, because I've been better than I've ever been, really, and keeping up with my awards list. I can't wait for December, end of all that, so that we can unveil that. That's going to be so fucking awesome. And yeah, I might have to consider that myself, because Hangman really stepped up here, and it was amazing to see. So really, really loved this promo. And yeah, even the punching in the face, like, that took me aback. I wasn't expecting that, but I think it was a nice touch. It showed, like, he is fired the fuck up, and he knows Mox is going to hit him harder than he hit himself tonight, but he'll be able to take it. Like, this is how you hype a world title match. I am, even just for this match alone, I'm excited for next Tuesday now.
I've added Hangman to my honorable mentions list for promo of the year.
Yeah, good shit, man. Good shit. We'll see where ultimately he falls by the end of the year. But yeah, I think I'll do the same when we wrap up this review because it really was that good, and I'm happy you said that. All right. Next was Danielson versus Chris Jericho. A good match. I know we were kind of discussing in the Discord. I know Craig even specifically said that he felt like 3 times in the course of a month or a little over a month, like that was just too much exposure for him. And, I can definitely see where he's coming from because they did all the right things. But I don't know. I wasn't really, invested in it.
Well, I was saying something like that, too. I was basically talking about how, their first match was, 6 weeks ago. Their first singles match was only, 6 weeks ago. It was at the beginning of September. And they're already on their 3rd singles match tonight. And, even the first 2, the first one went over 20 minutes. The second one was just barely shy of 20 minutes. So we've literally seen these 2 guys wrestle each other one-on-one for basically 40 minutes in the last month and a half alone. It's overexposure, at least for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely agree with you guys, because here's the thing. They do the usual beats, your label locks and your code breakers and all that, but there's no energy coming from me seeing all that because of the overexposure. The big turning point, Jericho initiates a ref bump. Brian and him, you going at it, but then Garcia comes out because Jericho's about to hit Brian with the title, seemingly takes the title from Jericho. Brian hits the Busaiku knee, but then Garcia blasts Brian in the face with the title. So the turn was, because the tag match was only last week?
Yeah.
Or was it 2 weeks ago, possibly?
Yeah. The Danielson and Garcia match, against Jericho and Sammy. That was last week, and it was also, you got to remember, it was controversial that Sammy Guevara was even in the fucking match in the first place because Andrade got sent home for their altercation before the show.
Yes.
And Andrade's match on Rampage got cut because of the altercation. But Sammy's totally fine. He's a golden boy. He's the chosen one, or one of the chosen ones.
Yeah, I just
and for
I
what?
Still get angry thinking about it.
For what?
Yeah.
So that they could delay Garcia turning on Danielson for a fucking week? Good Lord, this story needs help.
Yeah, I guess the only way that I can forgive it personally is that you can very easily have Garcia say, when I got pinned in that tag match, it clicked for me that Jericho was right, that sports entertainers are better than pro wrestlers, and I want to go where the winners are. I mean, here's the thing, though. I give them that rationale, but because I gave it to them, I also see the hole in it. You got pinned because you got a fucking title clock to your face. I'm assuming by Sammy, because I think, again, actually, no, I think it was Jericho that did it. Sammy got the winning pin, like you said. So, yeah, sports entertainers are better than wrestlers because the guy that said you're like a brother to him clocked you with a fucking title. They didn't beat you in terms of skill or whatever. So, but they're probably still going to go with that rationale. Losing that tag match made me see that Jericho and the JAS was right, and I want to go back with them. And this may even lead to a tag match or maybe just 2 individual rematches, Jericho versus Claudio and Yuta versus Garcia, because the rest of Blackpool Combat Club come out and they clear the ring, and Yuta is pissed. If anything, I'm looking more forward to that rematch than Claudio Jericho, because Yuta as a character has every right to be pissed. For one thing, he lost his title, but then also, and I'll give AEW credit for this, they had to watch Danielson, because he was warming up to Garcia, and he trusted Garcia, and he respected Garcia, put that title around Garcia's waist.
Yeah.
So, for all that to happen, only for Garcia to spit in his face and be like, no, I'm with JAS.
Dude.
That does make for a compelling rematch.
You know what I kind of get vibes of with this storyline?
What's that?
What was the name of Cartman's girlfriend in South Park?
Heidi.
Thank you. It reminds me of when Heidi realized that she had to leave Cartman because of how toxic he was, because of all the suicide threats and shit. And then she actually found the strength to leave him, and literally immediately all of her friends were like, haha, told you so, he's a piece of shit, how could you ever kiss him, how could you ever be with him, he's so horrible, etc., etc. And then she just goes right back to him. The difference here, though, is that whole thing with people telling you how wrong you were to be with them in the first place never fucking happened. That shit never happened with Garcia. Garcia chose to leave the JAS of his own volition, Danielson never even tried to be like, oh, you should totally join us. Fuck those guys. He was like, it is your decision. You can do what you want. And he chose to team with Danielson last week and be completely civil. So at this point, him just waiting another week before the turn, it really does just feel like bullshit wrestling logic. And I hate that.
You know what? I can appreciate where you're coming from there. Yeah, absolutely. And again, like you said, all for fucking Sammy Guevara. Ugh.
Oh, wait, I never even brought up Sammy on that little rant, but...
Oh, well, no, because didn't you say earlier, though, like, you know, they had Sammy in the main event, they kept him around because Andrade was fucking suspended, and for what? Just so they could delay the turn a week.
To delay it a week, yeah, that's the bullshit right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God. Yeah, man, I don't think, again, there could be a bigger story to this, because I don't know if you noticed, but after Jericho retained and Garcia was holding his hand up, Garcia didn't look happy. Garcia looked miserable. He looked almost like he had been, forced or otherwise coerced to help Jericho win that match. But if they don't go with that kind of story, this was garbage. This whole story was just garbage. Again, it's like, for what? I feel like Tony Khan isn't trying to tell stories. He's just trying to find ways to twiddle his thumbs so that we can just keep having wrestling match after wrestling match with no real meaning, and we're just filling time every fucking week. It's unbelievable.
You know, I really think you're onto something, dude, because, again, recoursing back to my concerns with MJF and the firm, it's almost like they're speedrunning these stories because they're emphasizing the matches, not the narrative.
Yeah.
And it's like, because I feel like MJF just fought the firm, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, already him and Stokely are on the outs. But then if you pull the rug out from under us and be like, we weren't on the outs, then like, why do it? Because we already knew you guys were on the same side and everybody knew it. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. They need to get better at telling stories. You're definitely right about that. The more I think about it, it's like,
straight up, we've reached the point that I just have to double down on pretty much exactly what I have been saying since AEW's conception in 2019. They need at least a fucking writer, if not multiple writers.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think
Roach, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, please.
Hell, in this sense, WWE is actually making positive steps, like steps in the right direction, because of this Rob Fee, I think the guy's name is, that they hired for long-term story continuity, basically.
I didn't know anything about that, but that's cool that they're making investments like that. That's, I think AEW would definitely benefit from that.
They hired, this dude's name is Rob Fee, and WWE, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but they hired him as their director of long-term creative. Like, that's like a new title that I've never even heard of in WWE before, being filled by this Rob Fee guy. And, like, the dude's even on Twitter, and, like, he's kind of fun. Like, he interacts with people on Twitter and stuff. He's kind of a decent dude, at least it seems. So, like, yeah, like, WWE's, like, hiring people for new positions because they want to do better at long-term storytelling. And meanwhile, Tony Khan is this fucking egotist who's just like, no, I can handle it. Let me tell all the stories myself.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. Look, I can appreciate wrestler autonomy for those that, like, I would trust Moxley. I would never give Moxley a script.
Well, no, that's my big thing, right? Is I wouldn't want a writer who is writing scripts for wrestlers. I want a writer who's writing stories that he would have the wrestlers then tell through their own words.
Exactly, because what I was going to say, and you said it better than I would have, what I was going to say was there's a difference between, promos and the narrative, the overarching narrative that envelops the promos, in the midst of the story. Like, I'm not going to hand Moxley a script, but what I am going to do is break down for him the big story that we're telling with him and all talents, and then you would get your separate division of, like, promo writers for those that need the help. Looking at you so hard, Anna Jay, for instance. But yeah, good like Lord. Giving wrestlers that kind of autonomy, I have no problem with that for those, especially that it's warranted. But that doesn't change the fact that they're not the ones in charge of making the overarching narrative coherent. I mean, well, they are, but not in the sense that we're talking about. You got to give the framework. You got to give them the skeleton to fill in. and there's
And
just
low-key,
nothing there because you're just focusing
there
on
are
the
some
night match.
people who have, complete freedom on their promos that maybe should be reined in a little bit. Looking at you, Britt Baker.
Yeah, exactly. Which, nice segue, friend, because our next matchup is Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm versus DMD. I will
there
say,
is
though,
a whole
before
thing
this,
with
we did
Renee
get...
Young, or Renee Paquette backstage with Nyla Rose and the Vicious Vixens.
Yeah.
Nyla apparently stole the TBS title. But yeah, that was the Anna Jay thing, so I guess we skipped that, huh?
Yeah, well, I was even going to say, the Nyla thing was before this, but we already kind of said our piece. Opening remarks, I just thought we'd skip it.
Bro, did I hear correctly that Anna Jay said that she was going to win that title and show everyone what a real champion looks like?
I think she was more or less gesturing that she was going to beat Nyla, take the title from Nyla, and then show her and Jade. So I don't know if she meant, like, winning it. She might have. Who fucking knows? Or just stealing it for herself and, like, whatever. And where is Jade in all this? What the fuck? But yeah. We get our tag match, Hikaru Shida and Toni Storm versus Team DMD, which is Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Love Shida and Hayter. Don't really care for Toni, and I'm really blah on Britt. Notice Saraya wasn't on the show this week. I don't know if that's just because it's a rotation or maybe they're trying to figure out where she fits, because I know the reception's been kind of poor. But fun tag match, I guess. Like, it was good stuff. Loved Hayter's lariat. That was fucking beautiful. Shida sold it perfectly. Good false finishes from both teams because there were times I thought the match was over, and then good defense was played. Ultimately, though, I love that Shida, I think, ultimately, got the win, pinning Britt. I want to say with the Holy Shida, because my stream actually cut out on this, so I don't know if you saw what this was.
Well, dude, we use the same stream anyway, so.
Right, of course. So, yeah. I'm going to assume that was with the Holy Shida, so you know what? Good for Shida. She's a fucking workhorse. I think she's been doing great work lately. I love that she kind of owns Britt online, and it's good to see that translates to getting the pins in the ring, because it'd be very easy to believe that Britt would just bury her in the ring, but that hasn't happened, and they're seemingly potentially teasing Shida versus Toni Storm for the title, and to be honest, I'm rooting for Shida to win, even though I know she won't. I don't mind Shida being a belt collector when you're as good as she is. So, yeah, no problem with that. Do you have anything you want to say about this tag match?
No, I don't think so. I will say, I am very happy to see Shida on TV at all. It really, like, I'm not trying to accuse Tony Khan of being racist against Japanese people, because obviously he's employed them, he's featured them on TV before, but current era AEW feels like it is going out of its way to actively hide as many Japanese performers as they have, because I don't think that we have seen a Joshi or any Japanese person on the product since Takeshita left.
I miss Takeshita, dude. I can't wait to see him again.
Yeah.
I'm very high on that dude.
Yeah. And that's understandable, but still, like, they have so many talented Joshi on their payroll, on their roster, between Sakura and Shida and Riho, and even the ones that get flown in only to get thrown on fucking YouTube rather than getting featured on TV, a.k.a. Mei Suruga and Yuka Sakazaki.
Yeah, I will never understand that.
And especially now with fucking Yuka, holy shit, the contrast between her now in TJPW at least and the last time we saw her in AEW. Talk about a 180.
Yeah.
I wonder
if
Dark Yuka would get over at AEW, honestly.
I don't know if I want to be so audacious as to say this, because I understand my position in this world and I understand Tony Khan's position. But, like, he's wealthy, but being wealthy doesn't mean that you're a good businessman, particularly in the wrestling business. Because he got his wealth, like, elsewhere. And, like, I don't understand how you could look at the landscape, see what the hot thing is right now, and not go all in on that thing. Because women's wrestling legitimately draws, we say it all the time on here. And Joshi wrestling, like, Stardom's on the rise. The Bushiroad acquisition, definitely a good move, I think, for all parties, because their subscriptions are rising. The matches have been great. The 5-star, again, I'll say it was the best all-tournament season. There is a genuine pulsating market there. And you just show this complete well, maybe not complete disinterest, because, again, he is employing them, to your point. But he's not utilizing these people to their fullest potential. And it's just, It's so frustrating. That's why maybe it was nice to see Sheeta get the winning pin for her team, because it's like, man, now imagine if you were doing this more often, featuring amazing Joshi talent and pushing the women more. And I don't know. It was a fun tag match, but, it's more than just matches. That's, again, why I like the Nyla Rose promo, because she showed a little bit of personality and character. I want characters. I want a fully fledged division. Men's division has characters and promos and all this stuff. I want the women to have the same thing. That's really quality. But again, that's a tangent I'll put off to the side. We get pretty much a nothing promo from Butcher and Blade. I didn't care about this. They're fighting Blackpool Combat Club, I think, this Friday on Rampage, in the form of Moxley and Claudio. And they just shout, "Fight us," and then the bunny kind of comes in, kind of does a chomp thing, biting us or whatever, and the promo ends. It was weird, pointless. They're going to lose. It's obvious. Then we get Cassidy versus Pac for the All-Atlantic Championship. Now, I've been teasing that because I had a lot of fun with this match, it kind of illuminated a problem that I have with the rest of AEW. And to me, it's a big problem if they want to keep my interest long-term, because these guys killed it. I always enjoy Pac and Cassidy mixing it up. I think they're a great contrast. They complement each other beautifully. And the chemistry is just on point. But, they're the exception, not the rule, because I think one problem that I have with AEW, and I'm probably speaking for myself here, I don't know if I'm speaking for anybody in our audience, because I know, again, we have some passionate AEW fans, and that's wonderful. I personally think they have a very lukewarm mid-card. They have a mid-card, I guess. I'm not really wowed by it. I was thinking about it, and again, I've gotten older, and we need to think about how things change when you get older, and maybe I'm being a curmudgeon, and dare I say, a boomer. But when I think about, the Ruthless Aggression era and that mid-card there, even when the people weren't good in the ring, they still had characters and they still had compelling personalities. Sean O'Hare immediately comes to mind. Kevin Thorne, Elijah Burke, on the ECW side. This mid-card, to me, doesn't pop. And it's a shame because, the diamonds in it, like a Pac, like an Orange Cassidy, like End-to-End Phoenix, the rest of Death Triangle, but then you've got guys like Ethan Page circling all the way back to him, because what you say about him, or what you said about him earlier, was absolutely on point, that he's generic as shit. And I feel like the mid-card, to me, comes off more generic than not. Now, again, you have your heavy hitters, but even the heavy hitters are in kind of a weird place. I like Wardlow, for instance, but Wardlow's the TNT champion. Wardlow's a fucking hoss in a tank. Why aren't we getting, bigger matches with him, even if you have to outsource the talent, working with other organizations like New Japan? My God, Ishii versus Wardlow for the TNT Championship. I think I speak for all of us when I say I'm fucking there. We're fucking there. That sounds like a great fucking match. And so I'm looking at this, and I loved it so much, but it gave me pause, because I'm like, man, I wish the mid-card had more consistency on this level, because I don't think it does, personally. I do think, again, you have another great asset, admittedly, in Hook, when you're ready to put him on Dynamite more regularly, which I think will be an amazing day for the company when you do make that decision. But, you're also featuring guys like The Factory, who admittedly they are jobber guys, but they're getting TV time, and it's ugh. So, yeah, I'm a bit underwhelmed by the mid-card, but matches like this, fucking fantastic. Let's talk about some of this. The first big spot in the match that really made me pop, because they're doing teases early. Orange Cassidy, I love the gravity with which he treats being in the ring with Pac, because he immediately goes for the orange punch. Doesn't do the shtick, anything. I love that. Love that. Then later in the match, Pac is kind of mocking him because he's forcing the hands in his pockets, and he's doing the petty little toe kicks, kind of throwing it in Cassidy's face. But then Cassidy does the drop kick with the hands in his pockets, right when Pac is winding up for the super kick.
Right.
Love that. Then you get a Falcon Arrow on the fucking floor from Pac, and just disrespects Cassidy by doing a snot rocket on him after, which, ew, but I love it because he's a fucking dick. Then we get kind of a recap, because we go to commercial at this point. Pac hit a tombstone piledriver on the ramp, so, a bit much, because I hate that the piledriver's fucking in the toilet. Yeah. But, whatever, I'm used to it, good shit. And Orange Cassidy does beat the count. He gets in before the count of 10. Pac tries putting him in the brutalizer. Cassidy gets the rope, so good drama there. And, it's just great back and forth. Now, admittedly, I did have stream complications for part of this, but I did come back in time. My stream came back in time to see Cassidy hit 2 orange punches to Pac to get the win. And they were playing up the orange punch the whole match because he actually gets one earlier, but apparently Pac kicked out from what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And, they really played with that. So these guys had a really fun fucking match, and they made Cassidy winning the title, which I actually did say I thought would happen when we were on Discord. I don't know if anybody caught me saying that, but I'm like, it is a hot crowd. I don't think Cassidy has any roots in Canada or anything. Maybe he does, and I'm blanking. But I thought, he is a beloved babyface. They'll do the title change because Death Triangle already has the trios titles. Not to mention, we already know that Ethan Page's goal in the firm, and we've been talking about him a lot more than I thought we would tonight, is to win the All-Atlantic Championship. So I'm like, well, they're not going to do that with Pac. So you need to get it off Pac. And if you really want the firm to be these, like, boo, I hate you fucking heels, imagine a fucking douche, a by-the-numbers douche at that, and Ethan Page beating a beloved babyface in Cassidy for the title. That'll get the firm some kind of heat, even if it's go-away heat. So I definitely think that that's the plan here. I definitely expect Cassidy to drop it to Page. But it was a great win for him. Best friends come in, they hug, and they do the Zoom hug kind of thing, and that's how we end the show. So it ended on a high note and a great match, but to me, it also showed that, like, man, I wish the mid-card was like this more often, and it just seems so middling and fledgling for most of it, especially when you could have guys in that mid-card division that are in the tag division, like Swerve and Our Glory presently. So I don't know, man. I know you said you weren't able to see much of this match, but as far as, like, my general remarks about AEW's mid-card, about Cassidy and Pac and how talented they are and all that stuff, what do you think, man? What are your thoughts?
I think a good sort of injection into the mid-card really would be Swerve and Keith Lee breaking up, because I think that I would send Keith Lee to the main event, and I think Swerve can be a main event or two at some point, but I think you put Swerve in the mid-card immediately, you give him either the TNT or the All-Atlantic title, and you have basically 20 to 30 minutes worth of television carved out every single week that is going to be on fire. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think that's one big thing that they can do. And I also think that Wardlow being the TNT champion, Harper's, or I guess, is that the right word?
Maybe not Harper's. No. What are you...
It does...
Harkins?
No, it does damage too. Like, it...
Hinders. Hampers?
Hinders or hampers. Either one of those works. The mid-card. Because, like, no one's beating him. Period. He's not losing to anyone that's in the mid-card right now. Like, it's just not going to happen. So, it's like you've got this huge chunk of your mid-card that's just not available to use in a believable storyline because of fucking Wardlow. And I love Wardlow, and I think Wardlow's entertaining as hell, but, like, I think he's gotten to the point that he's outgrown the mid-card, So, like, and then you could argue that he was already too big for the mid-card when they put this fucking mid-card title on him in the first place. And I would make that argument personally, because I remember going into the match that he had for the TNT title where he won it. Prior to that, there was a battle royal for the world title, and he was ranked number 1 in the rankings going into that, and he wasn't in a tournament or a battle royal, in the battle royal, to determine number 1 contender, because he specifically wanted to go for the TNT title instead. I don't get that. I don't think they know what to do with Wardlow at this point. I think they have no fucking clue. I think the correct answer is, if they're putting the world title on MJF, Wardlow should take it off of him relatively quickly, but I don't think they're going to do that either. So I really don't know how they're going to handle it. At the end of the day, I do think that Wardlow is a problem, not because of him as a performer. I think he's great. He's fucking awesome. But because they don't know what the fuck to do with him. And I think that causes, basically, it feels like a void in the mid-card.
Yeah, I'm just going to respond by saying, one, I agree with your assessment. I think it's spot on. And as far as the MJF thing, if I could just let people know my prediction, I think because they are milking this 2024 shit hard, and because long title reigns seem to be in vogue right now, which I hate, because, again, that's another thing, like double championships that used to feel special, that have felt so much more commonplace now. I honestly think he's holding that before 2024 comes up, and then they're going to do the whole tease. Like, is he going to leave AEW with the title? And then Wardlow is going to come in and be the savior of AEW. That's my gut prediction right now. That could very easily change. We don't know. But I do think he'll be the one to beat MJF, but I think we're going to have to take a deep seat before that happens. So I essentially agree with you, except as far as the pacing of those events is concerned.
Right.
So yeah, that was Dynamite. Do you have anything else you want to say about the show as a whole before we go to our next segment?
I just want to add, I know that Bandito officially signed with AEW. The fact that he isn't we need to get him worked into that mid-card division, like you said. Like you're talking about the mid-card. I really do think it's weird, because like I feel like the mid-card is so strong on paper, and they just don't do anything with it. Because you've got Pac, you've got Phoenix, you've got Pentagon, you've got, even if Malachi Black is going to be gone for a while, you've still got Brody King, you've still got Buddy Matthews, you've got fucking Andrade, you know, what are we doing here? You've got Bandito, like you've got Jay Lethal, for fuck's sakes. What are we doing here? Why are we twiddling our thumbs with fucking Orange Cassidy?
Yeah, they should be putting, like, the mid-card really should be where the wrestling shines brightest every week to me on the shows. Because that's what I feel like with the SmackDown 6 on SmackDown back in the Regression era. That's what those matches always signaled. Like, you know, all the wrestling is strong, but these guys, these fucking guys, you got to see these guys. That's what we should be saying about a Lee Moriarty. And the idea that he's been a part of the firm and that he still hasn't, like, gone after the pure championship, and that Yuta's got to get his rematch first, which, you know, I get it, fine, whatever. Like, Lee Moriarty's being done dirty. I don't see how being in this faction is serving him, and I was really excited at first. Yeah, because you know, I really thought that it had promise for him. He's being done dirty. I'm trying to think of other mid-card acts that I like. I mean, you mentioned some great names there that, again, they're more in a tag division, which is weird because I'm just so used to Penta and Phoenix. Let's keep in mind, in Lucha Underground, they were like main event level, upper mid-card talents. Like, they never went below upper mid-card to me, ever. And they were written beautifully. So again, going back to the writing, because Tony Khan, and we know he'll say it because he said it about Swole and he said it about other guys on Twitter, because again, he's a horrible businessman, and I'm going to keep saying it until that changes. He might say like, oh, well, they're just not good. Hey, you know what? Sometimes even somebody that isn't good, like in some ways, can be great in other ways when the writing steps in. You could really benefit from some great writers. So like,
but
here's
that's
the thing
too, is like, you have all the money in the world to blow on the best roster that you can possibly assemble. There shouldn't be any excuse. If you don't think someone's wrestling is good enough, don't give them the fucking contract.
Yeah.
But like, I think the bigger problem here is Tony Khan's taste in pro wrestlers, because like we've kind of addressed the vanilla problem.
Yes.
Like,
no doubt.
I just want to run through this real quick because you mentioned the mid-card. Andrade already mentioned. Brian Cage can be a mid-carder at least. Obviously, I think you and I agree he's a main eventer waiting to happen. Brody King, similar sentiment. Buddy Matthews, similar sentiment. To me, the mid-card really should be just comprised of people that either are main eventers waiting to happen or probably never going to be in the main event, but can still be very entertaining. Just to continue, Claudio is another good example of a guy that could be in the mid-card right now. Daniel Garcia, Dante Martin, let's see, Eddie Kingston. Where's he been, I wonder?
Yeah, dude, I know he's been doing promotional spots for AEW. Now he just did one tonight for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yeah. Jay Lethal.
And I'm like, yeah.
I mean, Keith Lee wasn't on the show tonight. I think Kyle O'Reilly's going to be out for a while. Lance Archer, fuck. Lee Moriarty, I already talked about him. Let's see, who else? Miro, where's Miro been?
Yeah, where has Miro? Actually, can I just say something very quickly since you've mentioned all these names?
Yeah.
This is another reason why I completely understand why fans like Javaris, and I think even Craig agreed with this, and I know Craig is like a big AEW fan, and he's shown a lot of goodwill and good faith to the company. But this is why so many people were unhappy that Claudio's reign as ROH World Champion was so mad before dropping it to Jericho. Because, dude, all those guys you mentioned, they didn't get to climb in the ring with Claudio. You know who did get to climb in the ring with Claudio? Dustin fucking Rhodes.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? What, like Claudio is a beast. I feel like everybody loves Claudio. Maybe we don't necessarily like his talking all the time, but I you know what? Honestly, even his talking doesn't really bother me anymore because he's sincere. He seems like a good guy. You know, I'm rooting for him. And, like, we're happy for him because he tastes the success. and his reign was the drizzling shits. And it's fucking Claudio. How do you mess that up? Literally put him in the ring with anybody you mentioned. Anybody. But no, let's give Dustin Rhodes the
He was the star of
ball.
Blood and Guts, arguably.
Yeah, let's give Dustin Rhodes the fucking ball.
Ugh.
Jesus Christ.
I guess you know who really does hold the power backstage and who still has seniority.
Yeah, I guess fucking so, and it fucking sucks. Yeah, I know you didn't mean to, but like you made such salient points, you made me angry all over again. Because I'm like, these are willful problems. They're problems that don't have to be problems, and that pisses me off.
I mean, I'm still wondering why the Lucha Bros are never used, or at least I shouldn't say never because they are sometimes, but are so rarely used in singles. They're almost always a package deal. They're almost always in tag teams. But Phoenix specifically is one of the best wrestlers on the fucking planet right now. Ricky Starks, where was he this week?
No idea. It's like he beat Hobbs and that win meant nothing. Yeah. And where is Hobbs, by the way, to recover from that?
Where's Hobbs? Exactly, no. Yeah, man, that's, I literally just listed probably like 10, 15 people who could comprise one hell of an incredible mid-card. But instead, we get QT Marshall, we get Nick Camarado, we get Jungle Boy, we get Billy Gunn, we get Chris Jericho every single fucking week. Like, I don't know what to say at this point. I don't know what there is to say. Make better decisions, Tony Khan.
Yeah, goddamn, you really got me to thinking, bro, and I didn't like what I was thinking, because they got a lot of shit to fucking work out. Holy shit. How do you fuck up Claudio having a world title? I don't. Anyway,
I mean, Vince never gave him one in the first place.
That's true. But you know something? Even to Vince's credit, I'm pretty sure if he ever did give Claudio the world title, even he wouldn't have fumbled that fucking bad. Like, I'm sure there would have been hiccups. I'm not denying that. But Dustin fucking Rhodes, I don't know what the Dustin Rhodes equivalent would have been in WWE at that time, but like, what? I'm not even going to do a Seth Rollins what. That's too energetic and entertaining for them to get. No, you're just, well, yeah, you gave it. But no, I'm not, no, you're just getting the confused, disappointed.
That was a really shitty Seth Rollins what. That was like a 2 out of 10 at best.
Yeah. But anyway, let's get to what I know Abel has been waiting for. High spots and low shots. Low shot might be me after that, just thinking about everything wrong with this fucking company that I'm still here. But low shot, I guess. Do I want to go with the low-hanging fruit or do I want to be creative? Honestly, I'll go low shot Stokely Hathaway. Because he's on thin ice with a guy that's probably paying him really fucking well in kayfabe right now in MJF. He's gotten 2 strikes tonight. So I'll make him my low shot because I know Stokely's all about getting that bag. And just to remind everyone, he deserves it because he's a short goddamn king. Fucking love Stokely. So who is your low shot?
Honorary low shot is going to have to go to Danielson. I don't think he was like desperate about trying to win the Ring of Honor world title. He's been there. He's done that. I don't think that's as big of a deal. But I'm sure he's feeling pretty dejected after being betrayed by Daniel Garcia after he thought that he was adding a new member and like a potential mentee, almost like a student for himself since Wheeler Yuta is more connected to Moxley.
Yeah.
So we'll give him the honorary slot, but my actual low shot is easily Jungle Boy. Oh my God, dude. The amount of shit that you talked, and then Christian Cage comes out, guarantees a win for Luchasaurus, and you taunt him. You use his moves, including a kill shot or kill switch on a kneel down Luchasaurus, and you eat the L. Bruh, get good.
Damn. And when you go in on people, it is beautiful. Glad that wasn't me. So I popped myself because God knows the product didn't for most of this. Yeah, so my high spot. God, even your salient points about Daniel Garcia tonight, I love betrayal. Like, it's my thing. And I'm just like, I can't even, God, I'm so flaccid right now. High spot.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first, friend.
All right, my high spot's Hikaru Shida.
I like that one. She deserves it. She's wonderful.
She does. And the reason that I picked her is because she got TV time for the first time in what feels like forever. and she pinned Tony's favorite. She pinned Britt Baker while teaming with the world champ. So she's probably going to get a world title shot soon. Maybe even at Full Gear. That'd be nice.
Holy Sheeta indeed. I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck this. I want to get out of here, so I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit. My high spot is Orange Cassidy.
Good.
You know what? He's a good performer. I'm entertained by him, and I think, most people still are. And commentary even made it a point. This was his 68th win, and it was his first singles championship. Good for the fucking dude. Because, not everybody's going to make it in the wrestling business or any business for that matter. I honestly thought the gimmick had a short shelf life. I'm just being real with everybody. The idea that he's maintained his overness.
You're not alone. I really, genuinely, even now to this day, I feel like Orange Cassidy would be like, he should be a dark elevation main eventer, maybe occasionally show up on Rampage, and his appearances on Dynamite should be very sparse.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I feel like his in-ring is solid enough that I can understand them giving him this, especially because, again, we know that he's going to fucking lose it to Paige, which, wow, what a downgrade.
He's not, rock star over like he used to be either. That's the weird thing.
Yeah, he has cooled down a bit. He's definitely cooled down a bit, but he's still, he's got his fanfare.
Did you see the list of the top merch sellers in AEW that was posted in the Discord the other day?
No, I did not, but I'd be curious to know who the top, how many were listed, I
think it was the top 10. I think it was the top 10. Let me see if I can find it again here.
I'd be very curious to at least know the top 5 as we,
Yeah, I'm looking for it here.
But yeah, while Ashton's given that, I just want to give some love to, not necessarily in a high spot context, because obviously he had a shitty night, but Pac really is fucking great. Loved how he worked the match, and it's kind of weird that he works heel as a singles guy, but it seems like in Death Triangle they're all baby faces because they're all so fucking good. But yeah, he carried his own tonight. But yes, who are the top merch sellers?
All right, so I'm going to work my way up from 10 to 1. So at 10 is Orange Cassidy. At 9 is Hikaru Shida, even though she hasn't been on TV in a while. At 8, Kenny Omega. 7, Hangman Page. 6, FTR. 5, Danhausen. The fuck.
Oh.
4, MJF. 3, Blackpool Combat Club. 2, the acclaimed 1, CM Punk.
Damn. Yeah, he's totally getting brought back. Fuck.
Not in the top 10. This is via WrestleNomics on Patreon, by the way.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there you go. So we'll be back next Tuesday with our next AEW review, where we will be talking about Moxley versus Hangman, and good on those guys because they got me hyped for that title match. They are the consummate fucking pros, unlike the number 1 merch seller apparently.
Bro, it's the first time since March that we can actually say this. See you next Tuesday.
Oh God! Yes. And with that said, guys, this has been AEW Dynamite. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my core and commentary, Ashton. And I would ask all of you lovely people as you file out to click that like button. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for AEW Dynamite reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Be sure also to give that bell icon a click, as well as the subscribe button, so you don't miss any of that TWitWoW goodness. I also would gesture you down below into the description box. See everything that we're doing, all the media that we're a part of. You can follow us on Twitter and Twitch, because we are the best in all the IWC. Ashton's got the TWitWoW schedule for the month of October up. So if you want to know what we're doing and what we're reacting to and reviewing and everything in between, you can go on Ashton's pinned tweet at Ashton_TWitWoW. I'm about to pull up the schedule myself in just a moment. My pinned tweet is to collect Q&A questions. Reminder, everybody, the Q&A is October 27th. It's the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. And so if you're not a Patreon donor, you get 3 Q&A questions. But if you donate $1, you get up to 5 Q&A questions. I always say, though, that I would just go ahead and I would donate the $3, so you get the additional Q&A questions and the Discord access, especially because Discord has a Q&A channel that you can just message your questions there in, and it's nice and easy to collect, and everybody has a fun time. And it's a great server. We have a lot of fun. And again, we were, in the server tonight watching most of AEW Dynamite with some of our patrons until the last match because we had to get ourselves together for this review. So, yeah, be sure to check all that out. Absolutely. So the rest of this week, guys, we got some good stuff for you. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 6 p.m. across the board. And not only is the time across the board, the content is across the board because it's Stardom, Daddy. And Stardom is amazing. We've got tomorrow, most immediately, their October 9th show in Nagoya. We're live reacting to that, again, at 6. Friday, October 14th at 6. It's their October 10th show in Hiroshima, live reactions. And then Saturday, October 15th, they are going to be in Tottori, and we're going to be live reacting to that. And then Sunday, I mean, it's our day of rest because nobody does it like TWitWoW does it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow at 6. And it's been a long time since I've said this, but take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And until we meet again, tune in,